Thank you, Ms. Willie. Do you want, I understand you want to speak, but, oh, good. Mr. Oliveira, we're going to give you the opportunity to talk about your stuff. Okay, thank you.
I do want to speak after.
Yeah, you'll be next, sir. I promise.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to share some information with you. I apologize to the audience.
Darryl, excuse me. Bring it down, yeah,
Sure.
because you're reading off of your
Okay.
stuff. Thank you.
And I apologize to the audience that, I didn't have a PowerPoint to put up so they could see, but basically I'll walk through the slides that have been provided to the council members. What you see on the first 2 pages are basically images of yesterday and today's observations of the flow. And probably the biggest statement I can make here is that we've seen so many changes in the flow's behavior since it started back in June. But historically, as it's come through till today, it's at different points pose different threats or possible impact to different communities, starting with the Ko'ohi homesteads, and then as it continues eastward, then obviously to the Pahoa community. What you see in those 2 pictures are, again, images of yesterday and today with descriptions in the first image about what we're calling our breakouts. And as you can see, they look like little fingers of lava, again, blackened pads that move off of the side of the main flow and then are advancing in a more northward direction. So not moving anywhere closer towards the highway or the populated areas, moving more laterally, but it's expected to eventually turn and come downhill. Again, the areas of steepest descent are following the path at which water or anything liquid would actually flow downhill. The second picture is what we saw this morning. And the significance to the second picture this morning is we're seeing more activity along the flow front. Nothing substantial, nothing really aggressive or moving out quickly. It's just the presence of lava burning and active burning along the front edge, which indicates that what happened over the last few days, as the scientists at HVO had explained, is that we saw a period of deflation at the summit, and it was expected that with the deflation, they normally see a decrease in activity at Pu'o'o, and that might have transitioned or translated into a decrease in activity down at the flow front. Through Saturday through Sunday, we saw almost no activity at the flow front. I mean, it looked, for a descriptive term, it looked cold. There was no burning, no evidence of any lava breaking out along the edges. But this morning we saw activity returning, but again, nothing active, and as they describe it, very sluggish. So we're still very optimistic that the flow is, moving slowly, not posing any current threat to any communities. But the one thing for certain is that the source hasn't changed, and that there is no indication that the eruption is going to stop. The next pages going forward, the next slides, are some of the priorities as far as the missions that we've identified going forward in an effort to try to provide the community with as much normalcy as we can. So the first one being the road access. The Department of Public Works, State Highways, they have already established alternate access through both the Government Beach Road as well as through Railroad Avenue. Railroad Avenue being a 2-lane, all-weather surface, packed gravel, that we are able to accommodate buses as well as large commercial vehicles. The Government Beach Road is a single lane with pullouts, which means traffic could move in 2 directions provided that the drivers are courteous and allow each other to pass. But again, it won't be able to accommodate large buses or large commercial vehicles. The other route that's being worked on as we speak is the chain of craters. The county has been maintaining really close communications with both state highways and the national park to work towards an alternate route through the chain of craters, the old road. And as we speak, we have state highways surveying crews out there surveying the alignment for the chain of craters road based on the original footprint that it had, trying to find that original footprint and basically survey it out and map it out. We also have County Department of Public Works equipment and personnel down on the Kalapana side, which is the state portion of the highway, already doing some preliminary groundwork in anticipation of moving forward with establishing that alternate access route. So road access is critical for sustaining the community. In the community meetings, as well as when we go out and just move about in the community, it's been obvious that many residents would like to stay, provided that basic services, basic access, and fundamental life safety issues can be addressed. And that's where the mission priorities come from. The next priority we have is electrical power. HELCO is committed to identifying as many solutions as possible to provide for uninterrupted power service. That includes trying to develop, and they're prepared to implement, protective measures measures for some of their critical infrastructure, looking at ways to redistribute or reroute power distribution lines, as well as partnership with PGV on identifying the possibility of PGV becoming a regional power generation source if we had to regionalize the power in the area. The next utility that we're working closely with is our Department of Water Supply. Although the vast majority of that area is on catchment, there are still large subdivisions and community or residents that rely on the county water service as well as the commercial center in the Poa town. So the Water Department has also identified alternate well sites or alternate sources to provide water on either side of any cut in their main line. And that's to, one is reestablish the Pohoa well, which is right behind the Pohoa High School, as well as to possibly tap into their Mountain View source to provide the water source and distribution on the Aina Loa or Keau side of the break or cutoff. On the issue of public safety services, again, to provide for the basic fundamental government services on the side of isolation, both the police department and fire department have already identified their contingency plans to provide for an adequate workforce to provide for those services and sustain those operations. And that includes, we have already informally pushed up a request for assistance through state civil defense, which is a normal process we work through anytime there's a declaration or a proclamation for an emergency. We make the request for assistance up through state civil defense, and in particular for the National Guard assistance. So that RFA, or request for assistance, has already been put up, specifying what we would like from the Guard to provide for safety and security when the time comes. So that, again, resource has already been identified, they're pre-positioned and ready to mobilize. We're obviously going to, pull the trigger on that when the time is appropriate and make sure that we have the resources on the ground ahead of any impact. With regards to communications, again, we're working very closely, and Helco is more or less our lead on this because they own most of the infrastructure in which the Hawaiian Telcom and other telecommunication systems rely on or piggyback on. So just as Helco is looking at rerouting power poles and lines along Beach Road to provide for an alternate distribution system, they're also working with Hawaiian Telcom and the cellular carriers on any opportunity to partner to share that infrastructure to provide for uninterrupted communications as well. And with the cellular carriers, they've also identified their cellular on wheels or COW systems, which would provide for mobile repeater sites that would, again, provide for uninterrupted uninterrupted communication support. On the matter of healthcare, Department of Health, as the lead for this particular mission, is working very closely with the Bay Clinic, the Puna Community Health Center, and even with the local pharmacies to identify solutions of providing access to routine healthcare and healthcare services to include possible pharmacy access as well. The other piece to this, and we've also reached out as part of that request for assistance through the state, is to put the state's disaster medical assistance team, or DMAT team, on notice in the event we would need to set up a triage site or a critical care facility on a portable basis that can be done in the community as well. And lastly is with our school, or DOE, and school system. The Department of Education has identified and developed a response plan for if and when the highway is affected with the redistribution of students to try to minimize the impact on families and to try to provide and sustain a quality educational program for the students. With that, we've assisted them with requesting portable structures. Those portable structures have arrived on island. They are being set up at the Keau school to increase the classroom capacity at the Keau campus to provide for additional teaching and classroom space for the students. So a lot of things have been going on. A lot of things are in motion. One of the most difficult things, and as we've been very clear with the community, this is going to be a very frustrating process going forward. As we've seen, the flow has taken so many different starts and stops. Its rate of movement has changed frequently. Right now, it's to the point where the scientists are saying it's too early and too difficult to forecast with any certainty what's the expected time or date at which this could play out and eventually affect residential areas or even than the highways, just because the rate has been so inconsistent. But we're obviously going to be planning for the worst-case scenario and hoping for the best, and that's what's in play right now, these different action items that we're working on. So I'd welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Oliveira. Mr. Iligan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I just want to say, Administrator Oliveira, you show so much devotion to the people. I don't even know how you are finding all this energy. You've been going above and beyond, because not only civil defense is now on the radio. I mean, not now, but it's been always on the radio. You're going out to the community and seeing them face to face. And I know it's not only you, it's also all the different directors in the different departments in Hawaii County, and also the mayor has been showing a great amount of leadership through this time. And it's been such a hard time. And I want to say you have made it a lot easier during this difficult time. And I know the hardest part about this lava flow situation is that, as you mentioned, when we started doing our updates, we were following it since trying to compile all the information and then just give it out to everyone all in one. And we started September 13th, and now it's we've been doing that every day. And what I've noticed was that in the beginning, there was no projection. USGS didn't do any projection. Then later on, they actually drew it out and projected it. And then it just stopped. Then we don't even know where it's going. It's such a stressful situation that we don't know. And at the same time, it stopped. However, the summit's still active. So we know it has to go someplace. And Michael, your concern, I've asked, and people have relayed to me, they want to stay in Puna. We want access. We want those roads. We're just limited on our choices, and we have railroad. But if the flow keeps on going down, it's just going to cover railroad, beach, and what's our only choice? And that's chain of craters. And when we did this last week or a week and a half ago, is we sent letters to all the federal delegation, because I wanted to make sure that they were aware. And I gave them a call, tried to reach out to each one, and I reached some. But one of the things that I did notice was that civil defense was already on that. The mayor was already on that. It was pretty much me reminding them. And one of the other things Administrator Oliveira also mentioned was that request for assistance with guard. I followed up with like General Wong, tried to contact his office, and come to find out that I want to go through proper process, because I don't want to mess up any other process, and come to find out that they've already gone through that route and trying to get specialized, because one of the concerns I had was that if we activate the guard, do they have the necessary skill of police work? Because I was a guardsman, and my technical background was not policing, and I was worried that they were going to activate these guys for emergency management without the police skill necessary. That's necessary to be able to do that. And come to find out, they do have that skill. And so as I'm going through this, I'm trying to understand how everybody's feeling in the council, because what can we really do? Well, there's actually, of course, a lot of things we can do. And the biggest thing is getting the word out there. Like kukuapuna.org is one method where you can get help, be a volunteer, donate. It's all into one site. And what the mayor did regarding the situation is that he hired contracted Janice Boltman to be in charge of all the volunteer coordination. And one of the things that we learned from Estelle was that we needed to figure out where all these help is, who's going to coordinate all this help. And of course, self-defense can't do everything.
Thank you, Mr. Iligan. Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, when you got appointed to the director, I felt I knew that you were the right guy for the right job. Who would? And I said, you said it here. You know, it's about being prepared, and hopefully you don't have to do those things. And here you are. And thank goodness that you are here, and thank goodness that we have the administration that we have, and the tenacity that I see is coming out with you and the mayor, DPW. I mean, everybody. It's amazing. It's frustrating here because there's you guys are doing what you can do, and then like Mr. Iligan said, it's about awareness, and Kakupuna is great. We want to do something more. I mean, but it's seeing Kalapana and what happened there. It is so unpredictable, and you just never know whether it's going to go right, whether it's going to go left, whether it's going to come back over. What you think was POW is still going, and it's just a challenging situation. Hearing, Michael, from the appraisal standpoint, I mean, that makes sense, and that is true, and it's going to affect us on the county level from a revenue standpoint as well, and we need to be able to do something about that. Shoot, if it was a water flowing, it'd be such a different situation. We could build a bridge over that. We could build a bridge and lava could take it out. But I mean, what it is though is I think we do need to be committed to having our roads open and reopening up our roads. And I don't think there's anyone here in the government that isn't committed to doing that. It's just so unpredictable how and when is the ultimate big question. I was going to use some CRF funds to help on. I'm not going there, so don't worry. To help on a project in Pahoa, on a medical-related area. Through discussion with Renee Saracusa, we're going to redirect some of that to potentially help with a critical component of this. I won't get into it because that'll be coming up on agenda. But it's those little things that I think are going to help and make that difference in putting the resources that we do have in the best possible areas, which I know you guys are already doing. So. Wow, Kalapana it's never stopped. Yep. So again, I thank you, and I just pray that everybody can do the very best. I don't even know, it's lava. It's how do you handle the lava flow? So I yield, and I will do anything I can.
Thank you.